Welcome to another edition of Graphic Man. Today we're going to discuss digital comic scans. It's a subject that some of you won't like, but let's take a stab at it. So here is the basic start page I have for this website that I've created on my little thumb drive. Now I can start off by I can read Classics Illustrated, I can read Disney comics, I can read comics devoted to dogs, Planet comics from Fiction House. I can read Golden Age comics, Boris Karloff, EC, Beyond Comics from Ace Publishing, Spider-Man, Rocky and Bullwinkle, Captain America, Forbidden Worlds from ACG Comics. I can read Monster Comic. Yeah, you probably want to see the Monster comics, so we'll go to that real quick. And as the images start to load in, I've made a little title here. And I've thrown my picture on top of Mr. Mystery. And so we have Journey into Mystery, Mystery Tales, Weird Science, Creature from the Black Lagoon, Strange World, Strange Tales, you name it. Twilight Zone, basically anything that might have a monster in it. This one is comic monsters of humorous. Let's see, here's Amazing. This is a cool one. Now we click on one and it opens up the actual book. So here's the front scan. And of course you can adjust these to be big as the screen, or you just want to scroll and read. So there's page 1 and the indicia, or if I'm pronouncing that correctly. And so then you have the actual comic. So, and you can read that, and or you can press the back button and you're taken back almost immediately to the monster page where we just were. Once you're back at the mystery page, it should have a memory of how far you scroll down, and you can continue your scrolling down. So basically anything that had monsters in it, and these are all just thrown in there kind of crazy. Here's Black Cat Mysteries number 44. A lot of people love this cover, and I don't blame them. Gorgeous color. So and then you just scroll down and you just read, and on the screen it may not be showing you the whole image, but trust me, it's there. So nice, crisp, good, clean scans, and then you just press the back button when you're done reading and you go back and read another one. So this is the monsters page, but you probably are more interested in superheroes, so we will check out the you probably want Marvel. So we get into the Marvel section, and I can start off with Timely. Or let's go to, let's see Timely first before we get to the Silver Age. So the title I made says Timely Comics, and that Timely Comics change into Atlas Comics. So there's the little logo I've made at the top of the page. You start off with Marvel Comics number 1. It's the Human Torch, 1939. And then on the top right, you get to Captain America number 1. 1941. So I don't have all of them, but as you can see, the Human Torch 1, Human Torch 2, Human Torch 3, so on and so on. Miss Fury, All Winners, USA Comics. Very patriotic. There's Miss America, Miss Fury, and then you get the Blonde Phantom. And when you get into the 1950s, it turns into basically horror, or cowboys and western, sometimes a combat. So as you can see, we're scrolling down into 1950. Now you'll notice I have them by month and year, so I wanted to have them where I could read them as they were being printed. If I could pretend I was back in time picking these off the newsstand. Here's a great cover, Astonishing number 6 from 1951. And of course you can make those a lot bigger. Just great covers. So always go back to the back button, and we're treating this like it's a website, but it's not. It's all contained on my jump drive. So you can scroll down, and I'm going to go real fast, probably faster than they can all load in. I've got a thumbnail image of them, so here's a real creepy one, Venus. A lot of guys want to get their hands on that cover because, well, you can tell why. It's absolutely fabulous. Getting back to the Timely Atlas page, you see that they tried to bring back Captain America around 1954. It just didn't quite work out. Later in the 60s, they actually cover this and they explain away that that's a different Captain America, but you'd have to read all the Captain America comics. A lot of people like this cover here. It's John Romita, I believe. Yeah, he's a commie he's a commie smasher. Not World War II. It's the 1950s fighting the communists. So it's still pretty interesting. Returning back to the Atlas pages, we scroll down. We're getting more into Journey into Mystery and Strange Tales. So now we're at 1959, going into 1960, and we're just about ready for the Marvel Age of Comics. And then we come to an end here with some Rawhide Kid and Journey into Mystery. This is before Thor. But let's say you wanted to get down to the Silver Age. So you were at the Timely. Now we're going to go to the Silver Age. Right next to it, you click on Spider-Man there. And here we have the Silver Age of Comics. I've thrown a few Journey into Mystery in there at the beginning. Then basically the third book you see there is Fantastic Four #1. And by putting it in date order, I wanted to get a feel of how the Marvel Age started. So you have the Fantastic Four. 2 months later, you have Ant-Man in Tales to Astonish. And then you have the same month, Fantastic Four #2. And then Fantastic Four #3. And there's still some monster issues going on with Tales of Suspense. And then when you have Fantastic Four #4, the same month you have the Hulk #1. This is still before Spider-Man and Thor. Then you get down to Fantastic Four #5, July 1962. But look over 2 issues from Fantastic Four #5 and you see Tales of Suspense #31. I want you to see his face mask. At the same time Doctor Doom was premiering with the Fantastic Four, you had this crazy guy, Monster in the Iron Mask. Looks very familiar to Doctor Doom, but anyway, I wanted to have a great database that I could actually read these all in order, and that's why I made this. It took me a few years to make a little thumbnail image for every book that I have scanned. And some of you might be thinking, oh, I don't like all these scans. I want the actual book in my hand. Well, so do I, but I try to have the best of both worlds because I realize your private collection is in danger of a tornado or a house fire or something like that. And it's good to have some digital backups. So here you see Amazing Fantasy #15 at the top right. And so then you'll also have Journey into Mystery 83 going down to the next row, coming out the same month. And then as we scroll down a little bit more, we will see the Hulk. Okay, look at the top middle, Incredible Hulk #6. That comes out the same month that Spider-Man gets his own title, and it's Hulk's last issue, and he also guest stars that same month on the Newsstand in the Fantastic Four book. And if you were alive back then, you could also grab Tales of Suspense and get the first appearance of Iron Man. So I'm going to scroll down. So you see I got all these great scans, and you get to read them all in order. And if you're a Silver Age fan like I am, this is how you would like to do it. Now, of course, when you're going to store all these books in your white boxes, of course you're going to put the Hulk with the Hulk and all the Spider-Mans in one space and all the Thors in one space. But I wanted an area where I could just read them in order. Now you see I have the annual of Journey into Mystery, Spider-Man's annual #2, Fantastic Four annual #3, The Wedding. So by the time I got down to the Fantastic Four #44, that they're on the top right, they were already married, and I didn't have the annual as a kid, so I never knew when they got married. My little place of Missouri didn't have annuals, and I wasn't alive then, so I just had to pick all these up later. So I enjoy scrolling through these and just seeing how the art will slowly change. Now we're into 1968. And all of a sudden Marvel could have more titles on the newsstands. And so the Hulk takes over Tales to Astonish and things like that. You're getting into magazines now and other issues, and pretty soon you get down to 1970, and where Conan the Barbarian starts. A lot of people say that's where the Bronze Age starts. I still had some room on this page, and I kept on going, I believe into 1971. And if the scrolling is bothering you, I'm sorry, but there's just so many of them to look at. And then you get to the end. You get to the end of June 1972, but as I scroll down, I've made a little image here. If I wanted to click on more 1970s Marvel, I click on it, and it will take me to page 2. I would put all of these on one page, but every time I tried to do that, the system couldn't handle it and it would crash. So I had to divide Marvel, and I take it all the way into the mid-90s. I couldn't stomach going past that. I prefer the gold, silver, bronze, and a little bit of the copper. I don't do too good in the 1990s. But so here you have some great 1972. And so you see I try to put in Western. I have Red Wolf here at the top right. I didn't get everything, but I tried to get as much as I could. Take a look at this Hulk. A lot of you will like that because the Hulk is fighting the Beast, and that's the death of Mimic in the background there. So the idea was that one day I could have some sort of computer device, some sort of tablet, and then I could just click on each thumbnail, and then it would take me to the book, and then I could read the book, and I could take all of these books with me whenever I go camping or wherever I go on vacation. That was the idea, and it's not the same as having the actual books in your hands, but if you just get a feeling about wanting to read the Marvel Treasury edition of Spider-Man, well, you can just click on it, and you can just start scrolling down and reading the entire issue. Now, I realize this might be boring to some of you, but sometimes guys will show off a collection, and, well, I'm trying to show off all the work I've put into making a thumbnail database. And so now this page goes down to May of 1975. So I've got an image of Moon Knight here on the right, and I just click on Moon Knight if I want to keep on going. So I pick up with June of 1975. And the great thing about this is you can see what was going on with your favorite hero and what was going on in the other books at the same time. So about the time the Hulk is fighting one particular villain, you got giant-size invaders showing up and giant-size Master of Kung Fu. And then you have Arg, which was a monster parody that Marvel had, kind of like Not Brand X. The Human Torch gets his own title, so on and so on. You get into the Hulk magazines in the 1970s. The Incredible Hulk was really big for Marvel around 78, the TV show and all that. We're going to scroll down, and you get into Battlestar Galactica, and Micronauts, and Devil Dinosaur, and Godzilla. And so here we go, December 78. Click on this little image of me as Daredevil. And then we get into Spidey Super Stories. And then you start to get into the 1980s. I'm going to let all these images fill in. You'll notice the Flintstones show up. Marvel gets the rights to produce those as well. So you go through the 1980s, and I know it's very boring to look at scrolling, but you don't have all day to look at all these. But we'll hit a few highlights. And so anytime I want, I just click on one. So let's skip ahead here. That's the Marvel area. We'll go to the DC area. We're going to click little Batman running here. We'll go to Golden Age DC. And here we have the DC page. And I made this little top icon here. I found a few of those, and I thought I'd add to it a little. but you start off with Detective Comics #1 of 1937. There's an old Adventure Comics from 1938. Then Action #1, 1938, and then Detective 27, 39. So on and so on. I hit the highlights. You get Green Lantern #1, Batman World's Finest would start. These old World War II covers, All-Star Comics, and Funny Stuff. A lot of humor magazines early on in DC. Some early Catwoman. Then you get into 1952, you have Dean Martin and Jerry Lewis. Scrolling down to 1955, we have Bob Hope, Superboy, Fox and the Crow, and on the top right there, you have the first appearance of Crypto in Adventure Comics. And I think it's really neat to see where House of Mystery really starts to do good and starts to blossom about this time. Meanwhile, you still have all the great old Detective Comics and Batman and Rex the Wonder Dog. And we're going to keep on scrolling. Oh, once you see this GI Combat here near the top right, in September of 1959, GI Combat number 76. I want you to see this cover. A tank is rolling over him, and it looks like he's gonna put a hand grenade or a bomb inside it. So now we're into 1960, 1961. We're getting near the end because I'd run out of space. So I click this image here so I can continue with 1961. So now we're basically Silver Age DC Comics. And they get pretty crazy there. Especially if you're reading Jimmy Olsen. Anything with Jimmy Olsen in it is pretty far out. Skipping on down into 1970, we get to the next page, and I just make more images to click on and take me away to more of the 70s now. This way I can appreciate each kind of decade. The 70s look a lot different than the 60s, as well as the 50s and 40s. As we continue to scroll down, we're now in April of 1978, and we're getting near the end of Commandy. And here is the last issue of Commandy, number 59. I'll put it at the top left so you can get a look at it. You'll notice next to it, I have a black and white image. I found some scans online where someone has located what was going to be Commandy number 60 and Commandy number 61. They weren't published, so let's click on those. So this is what Commandy number 60 would have looked like, and we get to scroll down some more and see some of the artwork there. And so you get kind of more of a conclusion to the book of Commandy, if you thought it ended kind of strange in number 59. And we'll scroll down a little bit more, and we get to the 1980s. And of course, I could keep on clicking on those, but we'll skip it. You probably want to see some Classics Illustrated, right? And this is where Literature Lad spends all of his spare time. So I have Classics Illustrated, and I even have some Marvel versions. For example, this Last of the Mohicans. Marvel produced their own classic comics, and did pretty good. Here's a little, the top right there, I've got White Fang going from the line-drawn cover, crystallizing into the painted cover. Sometimes I would get bored and I would add some animation to the book covers, because a lot of the Classics Illustrated would start off with a line-drawn cover, and then eventually they would go to a painted cover. Then I move on to some other interesting books, so forth and so forth. So you probably want to see Golden Age. So for the Golden Age comics, I decided to put Daredevil Battles Hitler in the very top. It's the very first book. These aren't going to be in chronological order, but I do have the dates listed. So you got Mickey Mouse, Action Comics #1, Donald Duck, Flash Gordon, some of the Jumbo and Jungle comics, Lone Ranger. Basically all the good Gold Age, all the goodness here. Bugs Bunny, Daffy, some more Superman, Batman, Chamber of Chills, Rin Tin Tin. It's kind of mixed. Basically 40s and 50s for the Golden Age. Great Donald Duck, the Green Hornet, Andy Panda. Here's a cool one. War Dogs of the U.S. Army. Here's this. He's going to attack this communist. The Korean War. I don't know how often you guys see stuff like this, so I'm trying to take my time to show you some of the highlights. And we're going to run out of time here, and my battery's going to die on me, so I just wanted you to see some more highlights. Outer Space comics, Looney Tunes comics, all the cowboy comics. Here's the Phantom, Phantom Stranger, and Phantom Blot. So I start off with the logo here of the Phantom. I put in the Phantom Stranger and the Phantom Blot together. Here's how the Phantom starts, and it starts off with some Harvey comics. The Phantom goes to Gold Key Comics, and then he goes to issue number 17, and then near the top right he goes over to King Comics for number 18. And it was nice of King Comics to keep the numbering from 17 Gold Key, and they take the Phantom all the way to issue number 28. Then Charlton Comics takes over at issue number 29, or basically there wasn't an issue number 29 for whatever reason. So Phantom goes from 28 to issue number 30. Then Carlton takes it all the way down through the 70s in 1977. Then Marvel Comics gets it, and they produce a book called Defenders of the Earth. And then DC Comics gets it for a while. And I have a few more Phantoms. But there's Phantom Blot. He first appeared in 4-color number 16 with Mickey Mouse. Then he had his own book for a little while, and he made guest appearances in Super Goof. And Phantom Stranger, a lot of you DC fans are very familiar with Phantom Stranger. But not to be outdone there, I put in the Phantom Eagle. He appeared in WoW Comics. And the Invaders. Then there was the Black Phantom, the Blue Phantom from Dell Comics. The French, top left there, had a French version called the Fantax. And then there was Phantom Lady, not to be outdone by Funky Phantom, and the Blonde Phantom from Timely Comics. And she'd even make a appearance in 1989 in the She-Hulk comics. Then there was the Purple Phantom. I have 3 issues of the Purple Phantom showing up in Two Gun Kid. They are all the same story. For some reason, Marvel kept reprinting that story, giving it a different cover each time. And a lot of you are familiar with this great ad on the back of some comic books in the 1970s, where this Easy Bake Oven, the Phantom, turns out to be her dad. So there you go. That was our look at digital scans. I hope you weren't too bored with that, and I hope you consider some of the benefits of it. Well, anyway, happy drawing.